Does Slimming World work? The truth is disturbing. It's designed to create customers for life. People lose weight, regain it, blame themselves, then pay again. And after 56 years, Slimming World still won't publish long-term success rates. And so if you are considering joining Slimming World or currently doing it, this video could save you years of frustration. You'll discover the truth about Slimming World's long-term results, why psychologists are warning about their methods, and what members are really saying online without the marketing spin or Slimming World's carefully chosen success stories. I'm Harry, and I've helped hundreds of people break free from diet cycles using psychology and nutrition. What I'm sharing comes from working with real people who've tried these approaches, eating disorder specialists' warnings, and actual member experiences. So here's what we're covering today. First, does Slimming World actually work long term, or will you regain the weight? Second, is it safe, or could it harm your relationship with food? And third, what really happens to most people who join Slimming World? Now, before we dive in, you might be thinking, but I know people who've lost weight on Slimming World. And you're absolutely right. Maybe you're even on that journey right now, seeing the numbers on the scales drop each week, thinking, this is finally working for me. And look, I'm not here to take that away from you. What I'm here to do is potentially save you from what happens next, because the real question isn't whether Slimming World helps people lose weight initially. The question is what happens long term. Here's the truth that many people don't understand. Slimming World isn't magic. It works on the same principle as every weight loss method. Eat fewer calories than you burn and you lose weight, or fat specifically. And if you're wondering, this is 5 pounds of fat. But instead of teaching these simple concepts, Slimming World created this elaborate system of sins, free foods, and arbitrary rules. All those bizarre restrictions are just convoluted ways to help you avoid higher calorie foods. A whole banana is free, but mash it and it suddenly becomes 4 or 5 sins. An avocado is 14 sins, but unlimited pasta is free. Why create this confusing system when they could simply teach you about calories and portions? Because then you'd understand how weight loss actually works and you wouldn't need them anymore. And instead of this convoluted system that's designed to confuse you, why not make eating simpler so it works in every situation and long term? In fact, you can have the exact nutrition system I use with my clients. I'll link it in the description and you can have it for free. Because what I'm about to show you about why people get hooked will make it clear why a different approach is really needed. So here's how the cycle works. You join, you lose weight initially, sometimes quite a lot. This gets you hooked because you think, finally something that works. But here's the psychological trap. When the weight loss slows down or stops, when life gets in the way, when you can't stick to the rigid rules, what happens? You blame yourself. I must be doing something wrong. I'm not trying hard enough. I have no willpower. But the system is fundamentally designed to be unsustainable because Slimming World rules completely fall apart when real life happens. Holidays, Christmas, eating out, or when you reach your goal weight and stop following their system. So let me share what current and former members are actually saying online, because it's very different from the success stories you see in the Slimming World marketing. One member wrote, I was fat shamed at the group in front of everyone. She told me I put on ½ pound and started saying I needed to look at what I'd eaten this week, shoving her iPad under my nose as evidence. I was upset and furious and just got up and left. A former consultant candidate said, at the beginning of the year, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder. I'm not saying that Slimming World was the one and only thing that caused it. I'm saying it contributed to my belief that restricting is okay. And this pattern keeps repeating. Someone else said they all lost quite a substantial amount of weight over a relatively short period of time, kept it off for no more than 6 months, and then ended up putting it all back on, sometimes more. And I know what you might be thinking, surely if there were real problems, wouldn't we hear about it? Well, we are. A BBC investigation uncovered something that should concern anyone considering Slimming World. The investigation interviewed leading eating disorder specialists about Slimming World's methods. Professor Chris Fairburn stated bluntly, you're actually training people to do something that's likely to create an eating disorder. And Dr. Amara Nazim, a clinical psychologist, warned that someone who's got a restrictive eating pattern should not be going to these groups. Absolutely not. It will lead to relapse. And these aren't random critics. These are the UK's leading experts in eating disorders, warning about specific risks. The BBC investigation spoke to members who fasted before weigh-ins, used laxatives, and dehydrated themselves to hit weekly targets. One former member said, "I spent Wednesday weigh-in days starving myself and giving myself enemas, then buying a huge takeaway that night to binge." This isn't weight management. This is the classic binge restrict cycle that eating disorder specialists spend years helping people recover from. And this brings us to a major issue, the consultants themselves. These are typically just former members with no formal nutrition or psychology qualifications. You're essentially paying £5 a week to get weighed and receive advice from someone whose main credential is completing a short Slimming World course. As one frustrated member put it, "Why am I paying £5 to get weighed by someone who has zero experience when it comes to nutrition and knowledge about exercise?" A former consultant admits, "Most likely you will also put back on the weight you lost too. It was very common when I was a consultant." The public weigh-in system creates exactly the kind of shame-based environment that eating disorder specialists warn about. Members report being questioned about their food choices in front of the group, being made to feel guilty about half-pound fluctuations, and some even avoid meetings when they've gained weight. One member described, "I hate all the weighing yourself in front of people. The consultant was condescending, annoyed when I weighed in a different group, and made me feel guilty for putting on 2 pounds after a 2-week holiday." The Slimming World system creates obsessive behaviours around food. Members report avoiding social events to stick to the plan and creating Frankenstein foods to try and recreate normal treats within their rules. As one member put it, people are generally filling a wholemeal roll with low-fat cream and sugar-free jam to make some Franken donut. Just eat the bloody real thing. But perhaps most heartbreaking is what members report about their children. One mother wrote, "My 6-year-old asked me why mummy's food is different from what everyone else is and whether chocolate was really naughty." When you're teaching your children that food has sins, you're not just damaging your own relationship with food, you're passing diet trauma to the next generation. The Slimming World system also makes people sin their cold remedies when they're ill, worrying about sins instead of focusing on getting better. When a diet makes you feel guilty about basic healthcare, something has gone seriously wrong. And here's what's really disturbing. This isn't happening by accident. There's a reason Slimming World's business model depends on this cycle. Studies consistently find more than 80% of lost weight is regained within the first 5 years across commercial diet programs like Slimming World. And when you do look at Slimming World specifically, they've been around since 1969, that's 56 years. If their approach was genuinely creating lasting change, where are the decades of long-term success data? Almost every study they publish is funded by themselves and focuses on just short-term results. The fundamental problem is that Slimming World achieves weight loss through the most convoluted methods possible. All those bizarre rules are just elaborate ways to get you to avoid higher calorie foods. But why create this complex system of food fear when you could simply teach people about calories and portion control? Because their rules completely fall apart when real life happens. What happens when you're stressed, when you're traveling, when it's your birthday? And yes, when you're actively trying to lose weight, you might avoid social events or stop going out to restaurants. But you're not going to do that forever. Eventually you'll become resentful over the restrictions and want your life back. Think about how many times you've heard someone say, "I'm on holiday, so there's no way I'm going to be on a diet. I'm just here to enjoy myself." Just listen to what that's actually saying. The diet is fundamentally not enjoyable. You can't wait to escape from it. And that's exactly when rigid systems break down. When real life returns and you want to enjoy yourself again, people often swing to the opposite extreme and do nothing. Now, to be fair, Slimming World can work initially if you have a lot of weight to lose and little nutritional knowledge. Basic changes like cooking from scratch and eating more vegetables do cause weight loss. But here's the thing, you could achieve exactly the same results by simply eating a healthy, whole food diet with some basic healthy habits, without all the psychological baggage of sins, food guilt, and arbitrary restrictions. The problem is that Slimming World doesn't teach you why these changes work. They just give you the rules to follow. So when you stop following the rules, you're left with no understanding of how to maintain your weight loss. Research consistently shows that people who are more flexible with their eating are more likely to maintain weight loss long term. The difference comes down to what you're actually learning. Slimming World teaches you to follow their system, their sins, their free foods, their weigh-ins. Evidence-based approaches teach you to make your own decisions based on hunger, satisfaction, and how foods actually make you feel. One system creates dependency and the other creates capability. Sustainable approaches teach you decision-making skills, not rule following. Instead of labeling foods with sins, you learn to eat a variety of foods in appropriate amounts. Instead of shameful public weigh-ins, you learn what weight actually means. You learn to use how your clothes fit and your energy levels as feedback. Instead of fearing certain foods, you learn that no single food will make or break your health. It's like learning to drive versus being a passenger. Slimming World keeps you as the passenger, dependent on their system. And evidence-based approaches teach you how to actually drive. So if you haven't grabbed my free nutrition system yet, the link is in the description below. It's the exact approach I use with clients to build food freedom without obsessing over crazy made-up rules. But here's what's really shocking. 99% of women don't know this about protein, and it's sabotaging their weight loss. It's essential to lose weight, and it can even make you live longer. So watch this video here.